Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. It's a combination of badminton, ping pong, and tennis. It's pickleball, and it's captured the hearts of senior citizens around the world. A new event has been added to the Summer Olympics in Paris. Check it out. It's called kite foiling. And some of these people practicing have already qualified. And we'll take a look at the future of veterinary care. What challenges do holistic vets face compared to conventional medicine taught in school? A new report suggests tens of millions of people are trapped in forced labor, many working in the sex trade industry. And chemical manufacturer 3M is forced to pay billions for contaminating the U.S. public drinking water system with forever chemicals.
This is Calen Gibb, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. Pickleball is a paddleball sport that combines elements from badminton, ping pong, and tennis. It has surged in popularity across the United States and beyond. UNN Field Messenger Candace introduces this entertaining and sociable sport as excellent means to remain active.
This is Candace with United Network News, Field Messenger Report from Carthage, Missouri. Here we are in Carthage, Missouri at the pickleball site. What is your name and what are you doing here?
Bonnie here. I'm playing pickleball and a bunch of nice people.
That's great. Yeah. How long have you been playing?
Probably about 5 years.
And have you played outside of Carthage?
Oh, yeah. A lot of tournaments we travel for. And
where are you going to overseas?
We're going to Bhutan. There, so it'll be interesting. Long flight, I hear. Going over there to ref some games with some new players.
Well, that just sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for helping seniors and everybody get more exercise.
You love it. It's good. It gets everybody out of the house.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Okay, thank you, Lon.
As a senior citizen, I really enjoy pickleball. In America, people 65 and over have free membership to all YMCAs in the country. And most of them have set up pickleball courts. The game can be played outside. The ball is slightly heavier when you go to a park or have an outdoor court. So in the scoring, 11 points is a game. And so the server, who always needs to serve underhanded and not overhanded, and serves it diagonally across the low net, calls out the score. But anyway, then you walk up to the net and you touch the 4 rackets together and say thank you for a good game. So that's pickleball, and we're happy that it's spreading all around the globe.
Next, we visit the sandy beaches of the Canary Islands in Spain, a haven where athletes train in the sport of kite foiling. UNN Field Messenger Emma gives us a closer look at how skilled athletes glide effortlessly over the ocean's surface.
Hi, this is Emma, reporting from Fuerteventura, from the sandy beaches of Ecological. There is a new popular sport type of kiteboarding. It's called kite foil. And kite foil has a kite surfing board with an extra foil wing under it, like you can see in one of the pictures in this report. This new sport has been added to an Olympic discipline of Formula Kite. in the Paris 2024 Olympics, so this summer's Olympics. The beaches of Ecological on the island of Fuerteventura has the ideal conditions for kite surfing and kite foil. The long white sandy beaches and the wind makes a good place for training during the winter season. Kite foiling is more complex than kite boarding, and the foil is very sharp and adds a risk for injury. So you can protect yourself like wearing a full wetsuit, booties, helmet, and an impact vest while you are surfing. Currently, 10 of the countries participating in the games here in Ecological are already qualified for the Olympics. So in this new Olympic discipline of Formula Kite, a lot of them will compete, especially with surfers from Europe. So the last 20 years, kite surfing has been very popular and rapidly growing outdoor activity. They are also lucky to have such a wonderful place to practice their favorite sport. It's quite a sight for spectators as well, I have to admit. So hope you enjoy the view from the beaches of Ecological, and thank you for watching.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use the camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. Our new website is now up and running at unitednetwork.earth. You can submit your Field Messenger reports directly through the Field Messenger tab at the top of the page. You can also email your reports to our new email address at fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Markley from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with the electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with Nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
Our approach to healthcare is changing on this planet. More and more natural options are becoming available. But is the same true for our pets? Are veterinarians becoming more familiar with energy medicine and natural healing techniques? Dr. Jeff Feynman is a holistic veterinarian who helps empower pet parents by bridging the gap between conventional veterinary medicine and holistic health. So Dr. Jeff is joining us today. Welcome, Dr. Jeff. Really appreciate you being here. And you are a holistic veterinarian. And I wanted to start our conversation off just by asking you where things are at right now in not just your business, but the industry in general. We're seeing more and more holistic vets pop up. But I think a lot of us that have pets ourselves, we feel a little hesitant about taking our animals to a regular vet because there's a lot of things that, things like vaccines and regular medications and stuff that we're just like, I don't know if that's the best thing for us. But I would love to know from your perspective of being in this industry, where is it at right now?
Thank you for the question, Sunny. It's a hard one to answer because from my perspective, we're in a real liminal phase, real phase of transition from the the paradigm that we learned in vet school and that's still being taught in vet school to a more heart-centered and universal and consciousness-centered paradigm, which is focused on energy versus the physical paradigm that we learned in vet school. So there's a big discord. I think that what you just described, that the pet parents often have qualms about giving the medications or the vaccines or feeding. Hopefully we'll kind of gradually get used to being more heart-centered and open and understanding of the bigger paradigms. There's a lot of things that are going on beyond what we learned in vet school. Well, I myself, I'm not sure that I even practiced much of what I was taught
in vet school.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, because I know that most people that become veterinarians, they love animals. It is that heart-centered approach to things. And it seems like that gets disrupted with what you are taught in vet school, and that there's kind of there's kind of a little battle going on, at least in the minds of a lot of vets. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, and I think that may be at the core of the problems, is that most of us go to vet school because we love animals, because we're heart-centered. And we come out with our brains, jam-packed with facts and information, so we're in our hearts and in our heads and not our hearts. And yeah, I think that discord is really huge when it comes to the vets.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were talking earlier, and you mentioned that has actually led to suicides. A lot of veterinarians, committing suicide, which I know is kind of a sad topic, but I think that really brings up this struggle that is going on right now between what is taught in vet school. And it's disheartening because, like we said, they come in with this heart of wanting to help, and feels like a lot of that's getting crushed.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, the group, there's a lot of new mindfulness groups and groups that are focused on integrating, a different way of thinking along with the veterinary paradigm. I think the earlier you get exposed to that, the easier time that you've got with vet school or medical school or anything that jam-packs your head full of information.
Yeah. So real quickly, I wanted to touch on the human-animal spirit network. And do you think that's the future? Tell us what that is and how that's trying to help.
That is a great example. The network of veterinarians and other pet professionals that are all working together, focusing on things like self-care of us, creating more space and more balance in our lives, which is going to translate directly to how we treat our animals. So yeah, I think that whether it's the human animal spiritual network or the Zen network or other groups, there are more and more of us that are out here trying to normalize the imbalance that's in the world right now. And that's very evident in the veterinary world and the medical world in general, and science in general. One thing we know for sure is that we will always try to seek balance, homeostasis, equilibrium. Right now, we're imbalanced.
In a hospital in northern France, you'll find a sweet horse named Peyo, who has regular visiting hours with the terminally ill. Peyo, a retired show horse, now 17 years old, has left the world of competition and has begun a new career visiting the sick and dying. Over time, his owner realized Peyo was a different kind of horse, one that was very sensitive to those who had an illness. Apparently, Peyo would seek out individuals who were physically ill, and he would stay by their side. In 2011, Researchers compared Peyo with a group of 500 horses and found that indeed his brain was wired differently. Peyo was able to detect cancer and tumors and seemed to know when a person was at the end of their life. Dr. Peyo, as we're calling him, and the hospital staff called him that as well, has visited more than 1,000 patients since he started his career. Did you know that wasps, infamous for their sting, play a crucial role in our ecosystems that far outweigh their aggressive reputation? Their role in environmental biodiversity and contribution remains largely unrecognized by the public. These insects are actually shy and passive creatures that are important pollinators, feeding on sugar nectar from fruits. Wasps are vital in the biological food chain, maintaining the balance of several ecosystems. They act as natural pest controllers by hunting invasive insects, making harmful pesticides unnecessary, and they enhance crop health. Understanding their agricultural significance helps to conserve their populations and, in turn, see the benefits they offer to our natural world. River Guardians are volunteer groups that have taken it upon themselves to protect rivers in the southeastern United States. Their efforts aim at safeguarding water quality and preserving the natural beauty and biodiversity of river ecosystems. These local groups play a crucial role in protecting rivers by conducting routine water quality assessments to catch contamination early. They also identify sources of pollution and sometimes decide to take action against the polluters. River Guardians hold state and federal agencies accountable for enforcing laws that protect water quality and press for swift resolutions. They awaken community involvement in river stewardship, emphasizing the importance of clean, healthy waterways for all through education, advocacy, and litigation. We are United Network News. Every day, we release real stories from real people all over the world.
Field Messenger reporting from Gold Coast, Australia,
Denmark,
Canada,
Uganda,
From Atlanta, in Southern California.
In their own words, people like you share what's really happening in their area. At UNN, you are the news. You are creating a new world with infinite possibilities. You are the restoration plan. Come join us for the real news every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, only on United Network. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news. A recent report reveals an estimated 27.6 million people globally are trapped in forced labor, generating $236 billion in illegal profits annually. This marks a shocking 37% rise from a decade ago, with victims suffering across various sectors, including industry services, agriculture, and with nearly 3/4 of this profit coming from sexual exploitation. This situation, termed as modern-day slavery, significantly affects individuals, stripping them of dignity and pushing them further into cycles of poverty and exploitation. The majority are subjected to private forced labor, including slavery and trafficking for sexual exploitation, with 4 in 5 victims being girls or women. The rise in forced labor cases affects various regions globally, with more than half of the victims located in the Asia-Pacific region. The report emphasizes no region, though, is immune, urging immediate action to protect worker rights and dignity. The UK has announced an increase in the minimum wage rates across various age groups, aiming to combat the rising cost of living. This adjustment, which exceeds inflation rates, is set to impact millions, promising a considerable uplift in the annual paychecks of full-time adult workers and young employees alike. For many living on the edge of financial stability, this wage will potentially ease the burden of rising living costs and allow for a more comfortable living standard beyond mere survival. While the increase stands as a victory for workers, small businesses express concerns about escalating labor costs, potentially leading to higher prices for consumers and reduced working hours for staff. The government acknowledges the pressure on businesses, but emphasizes the positive impact on millions of low-paid workers. Ukraine is on the brink of bankruptcy and may default by next year without substantial debt relief from Western allies. Amidst an economic downturn and decreased foreign aid, the crisis threatens the livelihood of millions. The country, heavily reliant on international support, faces a daunting $43.9 billion budget deficit this year, with hopes to mitigate some of this through Western financial aid. However, funding struggles continue as a significant $60 billion aid package from the U.S. is delayed in Congress. The Ukrainian Prime Minister says the financial strains will primarily affect social and humanitarian efforts and the reconstruction of the nation. Norway has announced plans to expand its conscripted forces from 9,000 to 13,500 soldiers by 2036. This decision mirrors recent military personnel increases in neighboring Denmark and reflects both countries' support for Ukraine amid the ongoing conflict with Russia. The Norwegian government is set to invest heavily in military facilities and training, aiming to enhance the professional expertise within its armed forces. This expansion means more young Norwegians will soon undertake compulsory military service, undergoing rigorous training and contributing to the nation's defense capabilities. The incremental increase in conscripted or drafted soldiers highlights the growing emphasis on security and preparedness in the Scandinavian region. In Scotland, the Hate Crime and Public Order Act has sparked widespread debate. The law aims to protect individuals from hatred based on characteristics like disability, religion, sexual orientation, and transgender identity. Critics argue it suppresses free speech and neglects to protect women specifically. Proponents, however, see it as a necessary step toward creating safer communities free from prejudice and hatred. The law, promising up to 7 years in prison for violations, also raises concerns amongst police forces about the potential flooding of abuse reports and the undermining of public trust. Despite the backlash, the Scottish government assures that the act has high thresholds for criminality and includes protections for free speech. Chemical manufacturer 3M has agreed to compensate U.S. public drinking water systems with up to $12.5 billion through 2036. This decision came as a response to a lawsuit concerning water contamination with PFAS, hazardous chemicals used in firefighting foam and various consumer products. Known as forever chemicals for their persistence in the environment, PFAS have been linked to numerous health issues, including liver and immune system damage and certain cancers. The settlement, approved by the U.S. District Court in South Carolina, aims to cover the cost of filtering these harmful substances out of the water supply. It also provides funds for water systems to test for contamination, ensuring safer drinking water for American citizens. More than 14,300 Black Americans waiting for kidney transplants have had their wait times reduced by an average of 2 years. This is thanks to a revision in a race-based diagnostic test by the United Network for Organ Sharing. This update, affecting the kidney transplant evaluation process, aims to address systemic biases in the medical algorithms that historically disadvantage people of color. The shift follows discoveries that certain medical calculations incorporated race in ways that could skew results and affect treatment plans. Prominent among these was the EGFR equation for assessing kidney function, which until recently provided differentiated results for Black patients by overestimating their kidney health. This adjustment marks a significant step toward correcting past injustices, offering hope and a fair system for Black Americans who are disproportionately affected by kidney failure. In Tennessee, a new bill is stirring conversation over the future of vaccination methods. Passed by the Senate, the bill proposes labeling foods containing vaccine materials as drugs and awaits the governor's approval. The bill is initiated by the studies at the University of California into integrating pathogen-targeting mRNA, similar to the COVID-19 vaccines, into plants like spinach and lettuce. Though the market hasn't seen such products yet, this legislation anticipates their availability, mandating medical labels similar to those on traditional vaccines. Concerns revolve around the bill's necessity and the practicality of vaccine-laced foods in grocery stores. Critics argue it's premature without concrete examples of these foods being sold and question the dosage control and the cost-effectiveness of such methods. Google has agreed to delete billions of personal data records from more than 136 million Chrome users in the U.S. This decision is the result of a lawsuit settlement that accused the tech giant of surveilling users' online activities, even in incognito mode. The lawsuit highlighted concerns over Google's tracking practices, alleging that the company continued to collect data despite privacy settings intended to prevent such tracking. While the settlement doesn't offer financial compensation to consumers involved in the class action lawsuit, it mandates Google to make clear privacy disclosures and implement measures to restrict data collection. Google, however, maintains the lawsuit was without merit, stating the data was never used for personalization. Users are reminded to remain vigilant about their digital privacy, as continued legal challenges suggest the issue of data surveillance is far from resolved. Amazon has unveiled a new app for its Amazon One service, revolutionizing the way consumers make purchases and access services with a simple palm scan. The app, available on iOS and Android, allows users to register their palm prints from the comfort of their homes. To date, the technology has been embraced in more than 500 Whole Foods Market stores, Amazon stores, and numerous third-party locations. This technology extends to offering a streamlined entry to stadiums, airports, and fitness centers, enhancing user experience through its security and efficiency. Since the introduction of Amazon One, the app has recorded more than 8 million uses, reflecting its growing acceptance and convenience among users. In the automotive industry, major players like Toyota, Honda, and General Motors report an uptick in sales, particularly in lower-priced models. This trend underlines a growing consumer preference for affordability amidst recovering from the pandemic and struggling with high interest rates. Despite a drop in sales of luxury and larger vehicles, companies are turning toward budget-friendly options, recognizing the financial strain on buyers. The market's direction is influenced by consumers' shift towards compact SUVs and sedans, pulling away from pricier cars. Interest in hybrids is growing as they offer an economical alternative to fully electric options, which have seen a dip due to infrastructure and price concerns. Dealerships are experiencing challenges, especially in acquiring used cars to satisfy the needs of customers unavailable to afford new models. In Brazil, the rise of Pix, a central bank-managed digital payment system, is transforming the financial landscape, threatening traditional credit card usage. Launched in November of 2020, Pix enables instant free digital transfers for individuals, facilitating a significant shift toward efficient and cost-effective transactions. With transaction costs significantly lower than debit and credit card fees, retailers are increasingly adopting Pix over traditional payment methods. This migration has greatly impacted the peer-to-business segment, where Pix's market share has surged from 5% to 38% since its launch. Consumers, drawn by the convenience and savings, are eagerly integrating Pix into their daily transactions, even as the system evolves to include features like automatic bill payments and installment payments. Egypt has sold the development rights of the coastal city of Ras Al Khaimah to United Arab Emirates Consortium, marking the largest land sale in the country's history. The project begins in 2025 and promises to transform the city into a major vacation and urban destination. However, this development has sparked concerns amongst the local population, who fear their future and cultural heritage. Many locals, including farmers with ancestral lands, have voiced their concerns about being fairly compensated for their loss. This discontent is echoed in social media, where residents express their grief and frustration. The government hopes the project, along with international financial support, will mitigate the economic strain caused by declining Suez Canal revenues and other challenges. In Ghana, widespread power outages, locally known as doomsor, are severely impacting the lives of its citizens. These outages, due to the nation's inability to pay private electricity suppliers, disrupt daily activities and business operations, causing income loss. The erratic power supply forces people to discard perishable goods and endure heat without cooling systems. Despite Ghana's rich natural resources and sufficient generation capacity through natural gas and hydropower, the maintenance of infrastructure and economic challenges contribute to these power disruptions. The tragedy even extends to healthcare facilities, where a recent report blamed a power outage for the death of a newborn. Citizens are calling for a managed power cut schedule to bring some predictability to their lives amidst this ongoing crisis. In South Africa, as political campaigning intensifies, citizens are increasingly exposed to sophisticated disinformation tactics, ranging from deep fake videos to malicious influence campaigns. Such tactics, previously seen in elections across Africa, pose a significant threat to the democratic process by spreading misinformation and sowing division amongst the electorate. The involvement of external entities, including Russia's Internet Research Agency, has raised concerns over the vulnerability of fragile democracies to foreign influence. To combat this, South Africa uses early detection mechanisms to curb voter suppression and misinformation. Organizations like Africa Check and the South African National Editors Forum are debunking false information and working with social media platforms to create a safer information environment. The engagement aims to protect the integrity of elections and ensure that citizens can make informed decisions. Taiwan was struck by a devastating 7.2 magnitude earthquake, causing widespread destruction across the island. The earthquake, the most severe in more than 25 years, claimed 4 lives and injured more than 50 people. Numerous buildings have collapsed, leaving about 20 individuals trapped inside that debris. This earthquake prompted tsunami warnings across southern Japan and the Philippines, though those were later withdrawn. The seismic event, occurring just offshore at a depth of 15.5 kilometers or 9.6 miles, was felt as far as China's Fujian province and Shanghai. Despite the disruptions, with power outages affecting more than 87,000 households, Taiwan's infrastructure, including its high-speed rail and semiconductor manufacturing, is beginning to recover. In China, authorities are ramping up internet censorship by randomly checking civilians' mobile phones for apps that bypass the Great Firewall. People in various provinces reported being stopped by authorities on public transport and streets for phone inspections. This crackdown seems to link the 2022 white paper protest movement blamed on foreign influence. Residents are being forced to install a police-endorsed anti-fraud app that monitors phone activities and detects censorship bypassing tools. This clampdown is spread to universities and online platforms, with reports of students disciplined for accessing and sharing uncensored content. The campaign against unauthorized content has resulted in more than 10,000 websites being shut down and many detained for spreading false information or inciting confrontation. Vistara, a prominent Indian airline, has experienced significant flight disruptions due to a shortage of pilots. More than 50 flights were canceled and approximately 160 flights faced delays. This situation has escalated to the point where up to 70 flights were expected to be canceled in a single day. The shortage occurred as numerous pilots called in sick, expressing dissatisfaction with the revised salary structure amid the airline's impending merger with Air India. The Civil Aviation Ministry, along with the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, is closely monitoring the situation, demanding daily updates from Vistara on the flight disruptions. This series of cancellations and delays significantly impacts passengers, leaving many stranded or forced to seek alternative arrangements at the last minute. Also in India, a staggering number of young graduates face extreme competition for low-level jobs due to high unemployment rates, particularly amongst the educated youth. Despite holding advanced degrees, many find themselves applying for positions far below their qualifications, a reflection of the country's job market crisis. The Indian economy has shown robust growth, but this is not translated into sufficient job creation, severely impacting millions of young individuals entering the workforce each year. The shift toward a service-dominated economy, lack of labor-intensive manufacturing jobs, and a skills mismatch have worsened the problem. Recent reports highlight that youth unemployment rates in India are now above global levels, with educated women being disproportionately affected. India's Supreme Court issued a warning to a well-known yoga figure and his Ayurvedic medicine company for defying a court order to cease advertising claims that their products can cure certain diseases. The Indian Medical Association accused the company of falsely advertising traditional products as permanent solutions for conditions such as blood pressure and asthma. Despite offering an apology and promising last year to stop such advertisements, the court found their efforts unsatisfactory. It cautioned against the severe consequences of contempt, which could include imprisonment or a fine. The company pledged to adhere to the court's directives, although its apology, which criticized some Indian drug laws as outdated, did not convince the judges. Critics have often challenged the company's claims about the effectiveness of their products, a stance its leaders deny.
Tired of being programmed? At United Network, you'll discover the truth about what's really happening on our planet. Get instant access to our written news, UNN newscasts, world situation reports, and in-depth stories from our field messengers. Manifest your amazing abilities as we explore the new Earth. Plus, original series to inspire and encourage you throughout your day. Get connected through United Chat, our personal chat room where you can join the conversation, share your experience, and also submit your questions for Kim. Watch United Network at home or on the go through your computer, favorite online streaming program, or mobile apps.
Welcome to United Network News.
Start your free trial today. UnitedNetwork.Earth, bringing people together.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. What was the ancient Milk Ocean, and how did that relate to the earthquake in Taiwan? War escalates in the Middle East, secret meetings on planes, and much, much more. Find out who's behind it all. Project Looking Glass information rears its ugly head again. But is it really from the project? All right, now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. How are things going? Crazy?
Kind of happy, kind of not. Yeah. Okay, so where do we want to start? Do we want to start with who is behind the upheaval that's going on in the Middle East right now? And they were not the cause of the earthquake in Taiwan, but they were behind the media campaign that was set forth for it. So let's talk about, for a minute, now we're down to the global headquarters people level. Okay. You know, that's pretty much what we have left. Some Langley 5 people and people that work with them. We do have a little bit of the SSP left that pop their head in from time to time, but, you know, it's scattered people. It's, you know, it's 5 or 6 people, maybe 10, you know, maybe some people come out of retirement, those types of things. So let's talk about GHQ and what they're doing. So they're very angry right now with the screens being whited out, them not being able to see anything, them desperately trying to get access to any kind of computer system with which to regain control or regain some kind of a gatekeeper type quality for money coming through. I did receive some phone calls over the weekend wanting to talk to me about giving them access and giving them authority back, but that would be a no from me. And they're a little bit on what I call tilt right now. So there were talks, for example, over the weekend, some closed door meetings to where the U.S. basically had decided that they could not afford to move forward with war in the Middle East. They could not afford to go to war with Taiwan. We talked about this. And they could not afford to, they're going to do the bare minimum by NATO standards. And then apparently this is unacceptable to global headquarters and to what remains of the Order of the Dragon. Because Iran has threatened Israel. They're saying they have long-range missiles now, that they are going to attack Israel. And of course, all of this coincidentally is supposed to be happening during the eclipse. You know, they promised on the 8th, which also happens to be the last day of Ramadan, for those of you that don't know. Now, there are a lot of Turkish forces moving around through the Middle East as well. Turkey is a member of NATO, as you know. So when you can't get the U.S. to allegedly be face front in the war or to participate, they're pushing on all of NATO's allies to continue with this process. So no surprise that we're seeing Turkey move all over the place. We still have a lot of operatives, and whatever the military, U.S. military was discussing behind closed doors obviously went out the window, as there have been many attempts to move lots of equipment, military equipment, coming from the United States throughout the Middle East right now in preparation for the events they plan on, that they plan to take place over the next several days. The orders coming from GHQ, because they are highly monitored at this point. They are definitely on the radar, and we are monitoring everything that they're doing very closely, including the few that arrived here in Durango yesterday and today. So I'm not sure why they're here, and I hope it has nothing to do with me, because if it does, then they're going to be very disappointed people. The orders that they're giving are very erratic. It's almost like a person in full-on panic. There is no strategy behind what they're doing. Even when I try to map it out, like where are they going with this? Is it try to trigger something? And you know, I'm not really sure what they're doing. I can't figure it out. I mean, I know where they're going. I know that they're moving equipment here. I know about the planned war between Iran and Israel, which has been going on for over a decade now. You know, allegedly they've been planning this war. I know about the Taiwan situation with China, watching that very closely. Putin and his conscription announcement. Just so you know, Russia has always had conscription, mandatory 1 year in the military. That is not anything new. Changing of the age, maybe, on which they have to serve until, that kind of thing maybe has changed. There has also been a declaration of war against Ukraine by Russia now at least 4 or 5 times in Russian news over the last 2 weeks.
What does that do to declare war against Ukraine? They're at war, aren't they?
Well, that's my point. It's like Washington D.C. and Congress passing budgets, and then all of a sudden they're trying to pass a budget again in the next few days, even though the last budget passed and was signed by the president just a week or 2 before.
Yeah, it does make sense.
This is what I'm trying to say. It's erratic.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. We are going to talk about what happened in Taiwan and how the media campaign is so ridiculous. I can't even, it's terrible. So that's what you're seeing, and all of the upheaval is predominantly coming from that group with no clear strategy and no clear leadership. And as far as I can tell, they are working together with some of the Q people and what is left of the SSP in hopes that this solar eclipse does something for them. Now, behind the scenes, we'll talk about the expectations of this group. So the group has been told that they have, and there is information, they do have some information written down, that they have information in orders and instructions of possible events that will take place from now through the year 2030. This is what they believe they have. This is what the SSP believes they have. Now, even though we are a few years into this information and nothing that they thought was going to happen has happened yet, they plan fully, like horses with blinders on, to keep waiting for these respective events to take place in accordance with alleged information that came from Project Looking Glass. Wow. Now, I can tell you that information that they have, anything past the year 2012, is 100% a lie. Now, did they get it from some alien race that used to be here, maybe at the Octagon? Did they get it from some coven somewhere? I don't know who wrote the information, but that was all pulled directly out of their wrong orifice. Because there's no information that was correct that came out of Looking Glass, seeing beyond the year 2012. Yeah. That's why everybody believed the world was going to end. Mm-hmm. But that was just when the world began to change.
Right.
So they are actually going off of an entire book full of lies. That's important for them to know, and it's important for all of us to know, because the fear that is coming out in the media regarding events that are taking place is just that. It's just fear. Mm-hmm. but they really believe that there's an event about to happen and that they have special information from special people or from beyond or some alien race or something that indicates that these events are going to happen. So, predictions of earthquakes to come. There have been many predictions about earthquakes. Some are saying California. That was supposed to take place a few weeks ago. Nothing happened there. Was there a mechanism that could have possibly allowed that to happen at some point in time? The answer to the question is yes. There was something there on the fault line, multiple different things on the fault line so that they could blow, and I'm not talking about the human beings, the fault line at any time. I'm talking about non-humans.
Sure.
Now, yesterday or last night's event in Taiwan. Let's talk about the base root behind this. Have you ever heard the story, Sunny, about the milk ocean?
I don't think so.
Okay, there's a lot of information out there on the internet. A lot of it is coming through the Hindus. It's coming through India. There's a lot of talk about it in mythology, saying it was the connection to Lord Vishnu in their world. There used to be a lot of information in Russian mythology about the Milk Ocean as well. And a lot of prophecies about the Milk Ocean and how the Milk Ocean disappeared.
Okay.
Now, the Milk Ocean is actually a thing. It's not water. You could call it a source version of a gatekeeper program. So the ultimate say as to what would have happened to the gate, known as Keystone Earth and the Gateway in Zero Point Earth, would have been up to source. So although GHQ and, We Are the Nine, you remember that on the Q clock, and, and all these people believed they had the only gatekeeper program on Earth, that was false. It was always false. And the ultimate end say, a ripcord, a dead man switch, if you will, would have been with source. So even if these people got out of line, or non-humans at some point, like Marduk and his sea control, got out of line, source and anti-source, for lack of a better term, could have pulled the ripcord and blocked the gate at any time. And the Milk Ocean was a part of that program. So gateways and overlays on gateways and membranes on gateways in order to prevent catastrophic events are often done with essence, energy, consciousness, matter, frequencies. There's all kinds of things that can block a gateway. And this Milk Ocean, for lack of a better term, was both the essence of source and anti-source. So it was like their gatekeeper key.
So it was some
Earth.
sort of body of water, well, not I say body of water, but, body of liquid that was of source and anti-source. And did it look kind of creamy or white? Is that why, it got its name?
Yeah, and I would call it not quite a cream color, but a very pale gray, because you would have had both sides involvement.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, in the gatekeeper program. So that's why they call it the Milk Ocean.
And then was it in a certain location or no?
Yes. It was a very large area that it extended through. You could go from the northern part of Russia all the way through the majority of China and down, throughout most of Pakistan and India, throughout Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, most of Eastern Europe through to Romania. So it was a very large area where this ocean existed. Now, as far as the humans and the SSP are concerned, they have been trying to utilize this or find a way to utilize it to their benefit for a long time. But again, it's a mixture of both light and dark. You cannot isolate just the dark portion for your purposes.
Okay.
It doesn't work that way. And those types of things would have only been utilized by, let's just say, others, in some cases, and by covenant only. So although the gatekeeper program could only be removed, which it has been, by the way, by Source itself last night.
When you say removed, does that mean the milk ocean isn't there?
Yeah, they don't need it anymore. It's not needed anymore. There's no gatekeeper needed because there's no gate.
So did it change color? Is it all white?
It's not needed anymore. So it's not a gatekeeper program anymore.
Yeah.
The matter itself would flow through a lot of caverns, with the predominant location being in Kazakhstan.
Okay.
For an entryway point. I would say it's been replaced by Source Essence for sure, but it's not acting as a gatekeeper program anymore, or a blockage on any kind of a gate.
Visually, does it look the same? Like if someone were to see it today, it just kind of looks the same. They don't really know the contents of what's within it.
They don't know the contents of what was in it. And I don't think they ever really knew the content of what was in it and how it was controlled and what, because if they did, we would have seen a lot more going on in these different areas for sure, I think. Sure. Because they would probably try to turn it all dark and think it's like a dial of destiny kind of thing, but it wasn't. It had nothing to do with that whatsoever. You cannot grow the darkness where there is a covenant that exists between Source itself to place this there in the first place. Okay. So now, when it was changed, let's just say transmuted and changed, then there was a trigger that was put in place by non-human beings in several places in the world that could have triggered earthquakes. So what we saw in Taiwan is not a 7.5. I know that our videos and all of this information that has been pre-planted is telling us otherwise, but we didn't register anything over a 4.5. Not to say that that's bad, not bad. There was also an earthquake in Alaska as well. Now, in specific locations, of which we only had 5 left in the world, it happened to trigger these dormant machines, alien technology, not human technology, in a few different locations. And the one that actually triggered I think it was Taisheng Mountain in China, which is where the signal came from that went to Taiwan, was not a human thing. The humans in China did not do it. For once, the Chinese deep state did not do this. Actually came from, and I'm going to try real hard to say this. It's one of the largest mountains in Siberia. It's in Russia, and it's Klyuchskaya Sopka Mountain. And I can spell it for you if you want to look it up and take a look. It's Klyucheuskaya. And then the second word is Sopka. So the signal started triggering once the ocean morphed into something else, but they were counting on this triggering earthquakes all over, and hopefully during the eclipse. So they got all excited yesterday when we actually had somewhat of an earthquake. But I will say where China's involvement came in, and this is China's deep state, their involvement came in was making sure that there were some buildings that fell down. There were some landslides in certain mountains and certain areas of Taiwan. So they, yes, the ground did shake. So there was no surprise when some of the buildings fell down. You could call this 9/11 light type event, which was definitely staged. And they took advantage of a potential event that they thought was going to take place based on false information that they received from allegedly Project Looking Glass. So the small 3.5 that was actually reported correctly in Alaska from, I think it's called Titan Mountain, if I remember correctly, in Alaska, was where that particular bit of technology was. We also had something in Medicine Mountain in California. And there was, I think, 1 or 2 other locations on Earth, which we took care of as well. But the expectation for more earthquakes to occur within the United States in the path of the eclipse is never going to take place. The technology isn't there to make it happen. Did we, I guess you would say, unknowingly trigger something a little bit early because it wasn't needed anymore? Yeah, we did, I guess. But it wasn't what they're saying it is in social media. The ramping up of all the fear that's coming from that region and that area would be things like there was a tsunami in Japan today. Do you want to hear what the tsunami was? It was a 30-centimeter tsunami, which is the equivalent for you Americans of about 11 inches.
We did report earlier that there were warnings of tsunamis that were retracted. So that must have been the reason why that they ended up.
Well, some news channel actually reported a 30-centimeter tsunami.
I don't think that's the proper definition of tsunami. I mean, I haven't looked up the actual definition recently, but I'm thinking the wave has to hit a quota. That's probably not it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be of a certain height. The water recedes, you know. I'm pretty sure that the Japanese people, based on what happened in 2011 and, know the definition of tsunami.
Yeah.
But this is not it.
No.
But this is what I'm trying to tell you. You have inexperienced operatives trying to run a war in the Middle East, transporting equipment all over the place for no pay, but a title.
Yeah.
That's it. And the hopes that the events in this super secret information is going to come to fruition. I couldn't figure out what the heck they're doing, like where they're going. So they're looking through their books, and they were told if they create this war and do this and do that, this gateway will open up on the solar eclipse, and make sure you kill the red heifer on the Temple Mount, which is going to make the Islamic people very angry, and do this and do that, and and you'll have yourself an antichrist, and here's the recipe.
Wow.
Yep. So that is the explanation behind the earthquake. That is exactly where the signal came from. It went to a mountain in China, a dormant volcano there, because they always put these things in volcanoes. Mm-hmm. And it triggered under the water in because there was no power behind it, let's just say, the dark energy is what is needed to truly trigger these machines. There was a small earthquake, yes, but I believe that the 5 locations that we got this morning are the last 5. We don't see anything else at this moment, but we're going to continue to keep looking just to make sure. Mm-hmm. But again, the power behind it is gone.
Yeah.
So I don't expect any kind of disaster. I don't expect any kind of change. I don't expect anything to happen on the 8th, but we're remaining ever diligent, just to make sure that nothing happens. Mm-hmm. Middle East, the Americans are absolutely still participating. There is a lot of preparations going on. There are a lot of flights going round and round and round and round and round there. Those are quote unquote super secret meetings where no one can hear and no one can listen, to include the United States State Department. So the United States State Department officially announced they were visiting UNESCO sites all over the world, of which there are many in the Middle East. But they didn't actually say that they were going to go around and around for about 4 hours in a circle while they had a super secret meeting with some people from Qatar, also known on a political map as Clintonville, and a few other countries. I think it was even the Singapore military was there. Trying to think of who else was flying around, but definitely Turkey, of course, Jordan. They're all Rothschild-controlled areas of the world. The royalty there are Rothschild in most of those locations as well. And Iran obviously is Green Dragon territory, so there's no surprise there. Is Iran going to attack Israel? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, allegedly there's been some drone strikes on Israel. I don't know who claimed it. I forget. I didn't look, I should say. I'm telling you these things because there's a lot of fear going on right now about a lot of things to come in the next few days. There's talk about war in the Middle East. Everybody's panicking. And when you see what's going on behind the scenes and you're hearing the conversations that they're having on the plane, there's a lot of talk about money. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of talk about, what do we have that we can move around? How many troops? We need the Americans' involvement officially.
So, I mean, why do all this? Is this about the eclipse? Is this trying to drum up fear around just having us manifest something to intensify, some dark energy they're expecting? Is that what this is right now?
Even after looking through and thumbing through these orders, instructions, and possible events to take place between now and 2030, I still don't know what the heck they're doing. I still don't know the end result.
Yeah, there's no clear plan, obviously, but it would make sense that they're trying to do something before the eclipse, right? Doesn't that kind of make sense? They're expecting bad stuff to happen with the eclipse, so.
Assuming they are trying to trigger the earthquake machines? I don't know. They're all talking about earthquakes. I know there were huge bribes being offered to the State Department for their involvement in some things as well in the Middle East. All promises and no delivery. It's not that they didn't agree. Of course they agreed to participate, and I'm sure they'll be back here, offering something or other, to people. Probably those that have contracts with the State Department to provide weapons to the Middle East, but who knows if they will or they won't. Everybody's still waiting for a paycheck of some substance. They do get small payments here and there, down payments, and then they never follow through. I've seen that happen a number of times. But I've never seen anybody get full payment for what they have provided in a long time, several years now. As for these GHQ people and what they're doing around here, who knows? Maybe the locals just needed some entertainment. I don't know. I'm sure that's what it is, actually. But are they going to continue? After a lot of their colleagues died in Norfolk, as an example, for some of the things they were doing yesterday. There was a few other locations in the States as well as outside the States where we've been hunting these people down like dogs. I don't know the answer to the question. I don't know how long they're going to continue probably until we find them all and they're dead.
Yeah, I just can't imagine them, with nothing going their way. And every time a date is promised or an event is promised, it just doesn't happen. I can't imagine. You think could they really hang on until 2030? Not that anything that they do would even have any significance to us by that time. But I just can't imagine a human just holding on to that. That's so depressing.
It does cause some problems, not for us per se, but for people in general, obviously. They want power, money, and control. That's what they'd like to have. And I'm not sure how anything they're doing is going to help them achieve that. They are in a failing business. They refuse to start a different business or go in a different direction.
Yeah.
Where they could maintain some semblance of dignity. But at this point, like I said, and I repeat, especially after listening to all the plane meetings, listening to what they're doing in the Middle East, listening to who's calling Iran, who's prodding these people to move forward, how much they've been promised, how much power they have been promised in the region. They're very ill. All of them. And I really do not think in any way, shape, or form that there is going to be any hope at this point of fixing government. And I've been saying that for a while, but I thought I would repeat it because the governments are more broken than humanity is, believe it or not. We just have to be careful of a few things. Number one, the oppressed becoming the oppressor.
Yeah.
That's what happened with the assemblies. We cannot let that happen again. You personally, singularly, by yourself, including myself, are not the savior of humanity. You will not become the savior of humanity. Even if you learn to walk on water, you are still not the savior of humanity.
Right.
There is no human standing beside you that is any lesser than you are. I've seen that happen too. You're going to rally everybody and you're going to tell everybody where to go and what to do to solve all their problems all of a sudden. And that is not the case. There has to be some kind of semblance of order amongst us. We are supposed to be the sane ones here. We are supposed to be the ones that teach people a different way by walking the walk and not just talking the talk. There's plenty of evangelists on TV that talk the talk.
Yeah.
And then they get off the television and they do some pretty horrendous things, as you know. And, we are not those people. If we say we're going to do something, we need to do it. We need to show them how to work together as a community for the benefit of all. And the time for doing that is now. There's a lot of people waking up right now that were not awake before, that are trying to understand and disseminate information. We can't yell at them for asking questions. We have to try to be kind to these people with an expectation of just reminding yourself, where you were 3 years ago or 4 years ago or 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Where were you? Or maybe it's been 20 years for you, but you still remember those days when you were searching, for information. What's happening? What's going on? Who's telling the truth? Who's not telling the truth? How do I use my discernment? How do I figure it out? And with so much fear flying all over the place, it's confusing, and it's intended to be confusing. Clear out the noise. Focus on, and this is something I've said before too, Focus on actionable items. You know, I watched people scream at each other for hours about whether the earth was flat or round. I know you laugh, but it's true.
I know.
And they're like ready to jump through a computer screen and kill the other person because they don't agree. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to unflatten it if it is flat. Let's just say I'm not going to, and you're not going to unround it if it is round.
Yeah, there are definitely more pressing things at hand.
Well, what's the point?
I think people are just so tired of being lied to, right? That when they find something they think is truth, they latch onto it so tightly and they'll defend it, I don't know.
Well, there's so much evidence, right? You can get a telescope on your own, okay, all by yourself, and go look at the sky and look for other planets. You can see other planets, different times of the year, different times of the day, from a nice telescope. Rent one. I'm sure you can probably rent one. And look at the shape of every other planet in our galaxy, the ones that you can see right here from Earth. And if you find any flat ones, you let me know. Because why would all the other planets in our galaxy be round and this is the only flat one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell you, since we're on the topic, I went through that stage of questioning what's real with regard to the shape of the Earth. This is several years ago now. But for me, I was looking at circumstantial evidence. I was looking at the fact that there's no way NASA is telling the truth, right? So What else is NASA lying about? That fake moon landing is a bunch of crap. I knew that.
Yeah.
So there's circumstantial stuff that, and, you go up in a plane and everything still kind of looks flat. So you're using what information you have and but I think it's more of like your subconscious knows that you're being lied to. So then the question becomes, well, some of these are just rabbit holes just to confuse you even more and make you seem like a lunatic, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of figure out what's real and what's not. And that's one of the first things that I think a lot of people, even really smart people, question, because I never questioned the shape of the planet until I started waking up and realizing that we're being lied to about everything. So it's just, it's just one of those things. And there's other examples too. It's not just flat earth people, but but you're right. Everyone, they're starting to search for information and they know they're being lied to. So why not change it's just one of those traps you fall into. And there's many of them.
And there is. And there's many of them right now.
Yeah.
And I say this because you can sit there all day and look at information. Was it a do? Was it not a do? Was it this kind of weapon? Was it that kind of weapon? Was it this? What caused the earthquake in Taiwan? The deep state. The China wanted it. The U.S. wanted it. It's a weapon. It's it's meant to do this. You can sit there for hours in the next coming days. I guarantee you, because this is been a little over 12 hours ago now at the time of this recording. You could sit there for hours and try to determine what kind of weapon did it, who did it, where, was it China? Was it the Iranians? Was it an Islamic terrorist group? Who was it, that caused the earthquake in Taiwan? And it's going to get bigger too. You'll probably go from 7.5 to 9 point something. And, we were mistaken. It was really an 8 something. And then, wait a minute, it was really a 3 point something. And then someone else is going to report or take it off the internet and say it was a 4 something or, whatever. You're not going to unearthquake it.
Yeah.
You're not going to go hunt down, insert terrorist group name here, insert military here, insert do weapon provider here, Lockheed Martin. Are you going to do something about it? Like, what are you going to do with this information?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we work on things that we can do and things we can change? Is it going to be a giant fundraising event so that they can fund a war over there? Yes, it is. Don't fall into the trap. If you happen to know people in Taiwan that you want to aid directly to people maybe. But just like they did with the Ukraine fundraiser, they're going to do the same thing with Taiwan. And then you're going to, before you know it, you are going to be responsible for funding a war between China and Taiwan / the U.S. Yeah. So if that's what they're looking to do, create mass hysteria for the public, throw it all over social media. I went through it last night. A friend of mine called me in panic about what happened. And so I'm going through, they're like, look on Twitter, look on X. It was the same building, the same rocking train, 9,000 times. And I scrolled for a good 30 minutes while talking to my friend on the phone through the same, hashtag earthquake. Same train, same building. Oh, one other building. Oh, potential landslide. Okay, same train, same building, over and over and over again. The videos were exactly the same, of the same buildings and the same people. Not to say there wasn't a building that didn't fall down slightly, but it doesn't make any logical sense. So you have a building under construction. This is video number 1, a building under construction where it doesn't shake, it doesn't move. Now, most buildings for years now are built on almost like rollers. Have you ever been in a really high-rise building and, that's semi-modern, meaning it was built in the last 30 to 50 years, and if you're on like the top floor, you can almost feel the building move a little bit. Have you ever felt that?
Yeah.
You can feel it move a little bit. That's because it's built on rollers, for lack of a better term. Not using non-technical construction terms. Yeah. Most high-rise buildings are built this way to account for weather, to account for hurricanes, to account for earthquakes or slight tremors or earth movements. It's kind of like, if you have a house and, eventually, even if it's a brand new home, eventually the concrete cracks and it settles and it moves. And this could be detrimental, 100 floors up. So you need to take into account these types of situations, and most all modern buildings do. So this building in Taiwan that is under construction didn't even move. And yet you see some pieces of metal flying off the side.
Okay.
In the video.
Yeah.
You would see the slight movement. I'm sorry, in an earthquake situation that would cause that type of metal to fly off, you would see the movement on a video. You would definitely, it would be enough for you to see the building actually move. Now, some guy throwing some, maybe group of guys or whatever, throwing some stuff off a building does not an earthquake make. They're even bad at the movies now. Did one building fall down? Yes, it did. Now, if you know how earthquakes work and what happens if you shake the ground, you can practice this at home with, a board of some sort, and a house of cards, and see how it collapses. See which side collapses first, that type of thing. Why would a building fall over only to that, in this direction or that direction? What's wrong with the foundation on the other side? Why did that not collapse? Was that reinforced recently? Why did it only fall on this side? A lot of the stuff was staged, and there's not enough evidence for me to prove to the contrary. People shaking in the train. Would that happen during an earthquake? Sure. What would happen during a 7.5 earthquake when you're at the epicenter in a train?
Right. That's disaster.
You're not going to be standing in said train rocking back and forth. No, you are not. You are absolutely not going to be. It makes no sense. But you can expect a Save Taiwan fundraising campaign.
Yeah.
That's what I expect. And I'm not saying that there weren't people hurt in these events, and I'm not saying there aren't people that are without homes right now because of these events, but I can tell you that they don't care about those people. They didn't care about the people and the citizens in Ukraine when everybody sent millions of dollars and all the stars were fundraising on every single channel, getting Airbnb involved and all these, Mila Kunis and I'm from Ukraine, she says, and all these kind of things. Is she? Yes, probably. But you see my point.
Yeah.
Actionable items you can do today. actionable items for you to do in the future that you can plan for today. Stop wondering who's going to become the next president, because it doesn't matter. Don't go stand in a voting line. Who cares? No one cares. They didn't care last election. They didn't care in any election for the last couple centuries. No one cares. No one cares what you want. They lie to you constantly in the media. Why do you care? Alt media is no different. They just find several plain folk to tell you the same story that some operative is telling you. You know? Be careful how you spend your time and your energy. What you focus on is important. Where you put your intention is important. What do you want to see in the future? It's important. Now, you are not going to change anything that is going to happen during this eclipse. If you're focusing on it from a standpoint of what are they going to do, what could possibly happen, focusing on a positive outcome is probably the best that you can do.
Yeah.
But watching countless videos online about who blew up what is not going to help you any. Your positive intent is probably going to help a lot of people, especially if you're doing it together with others. And don't fight with each other whether the earth is flat or round. Who cares? Don't argue. Matter of fact, you shouldn't be arguing with each other for the most part at all. It's not, that energy is bad. Why? Focus on things you can achieve together as a group. Together, you will achieve many things, now and in the future. Separately, you'll be sitting there arguing with people on the internet about the earth being flat or round. Where do you want to see this world going? Focus on the things that you can change. There are things you can do. Even if you are home and you are elderly, I've heard this many, many times, if you're home, you are elderly, you can take an hour a day and focus positive intention for this planet and for those around you and for your country. Stop watching videos about who the president, the Prime Minister of Canada is and whether or not the royal family is dead. Who cares? That is not going to change one human being's life on this planet. Positive intention in another direction, giving people options, is going to make that change. So that's my piece for Wednesday. That's my words of wisdom for Wednesday.
Well, it's a good reminder because we can all get caught up in that. I find myself, watching like these eclipse videos, whatever. And after a while, I'm like, why did I just waste an hour of my time on this? That was not productive at all. And everyone said something different. And I'm no better off than I was before watching it. So, it would have been much better off just spending some time with my kids, and hanging out and laughing or going out for a walk and, take my dog out for a walk or whatever, So we all fall into it, but I think it's a good reminder because that is something we can control. Focus on what you can control, and that's
exactly.
Your job. I feel like I'm having a pep talk like I talk to my kids. Kids, you can control yourself. You can't control what other people do, but you can control what you do and how you behave in situations and how you react in situations.
That's right. Your reaction is solely yours.
That's right.
Now, it's a time of turmoil right now. Everybody, especially even in the people that are in the alt media and watch alt media all the time, everybody's scared, fearful. We're going to be having this conversation next Wednesday, a week from today, because the eclipse will not have happened probably by the time we are recording the news. Yeah. And we're going to be like, okay, you got yourself all worked up and here we are on Wednesday and, it passed, and maybe there was some mechanisms or something like that that had to be taken out, maybe some work to be done, that kind of thing. If you are so inclined and talented in that arena and you know how to do those types of things, because there's a lot of people that watch us that do, keep an eye out. Keep a watchful eye. See if you find something. See if you see something. See if you can make adjustments to the energy. It's becoming easier and easier now, even for people that have been doing it for decades. Yeah. They're finding it a lot easier. We're here to make the changes. They brought us here because of who we are. They've tortured us because of who we are. Just remember that. Every time life seems bad and, you feel like the frequencies are bad or the energy is terrible or something, remember how strong you are. We are still here. No matter what they've thrown at us and chemicals and trails and spraying and this and that, doesn't matter what they've done to us, we are still here. So this too shall pass. My grandmother used to say, nothing too good or too bad lasts too long. Don't worry, this too shall pass. All her little idioms that she used to say over the years. But, if you find yourself going through TikTok video after TikTok video about earthquakes and, it's probably going to start making you feel sick. I know when I had to get on there for a while, but with our social media and that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh God, how do people watch this stuff?
Exactly.
And it's China's social media channel, so you can expect to see a lot on there, a lot coming up in your feed about that kind of stuff. So take a step back, walk away, spend time with friends and family, spend time with your pets, spend time in nature, spend time by yourself. Yeah. Turn off the television set, turn off the computer, turn off the phone, leave the phone at home and go for a walk. Anything just to reground yourself. Take your shoes off, walk with your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, I just see the people kind of in full on panic. I also see people that, there was a comment where someone made the statement that they're old, they're okay with dying, they're sick and, there's not much I can do. And well, I understand, but there are things you can do. There is nothing that happens that cannot be reversed. It just depends on who you're listening to. Yeah. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But remember, it's 90% your emotional and mental state that is going to affect your physical body. And there is nothing, even the most profound cure for X, whatever you're suffering from, is not going to work if your mental state and your emotional state says it's probably not going to work. Yeah. That could be any kind of natural healing, whatever it is that, you're trying to do to help yourself. So, if you're here for a reason. And maybe that's to impart wisdom to others. Maybe right now you can't see. Maybe something is going on with your body. Maybe you never could, but you still have lots of wisdom and you've lived a long life. So, impart that wisdom to others. Help people. Help yourself. Help people. Yeah. So on that note, that's pretty much. I did forget one thing. The GHQ people did actually threaten and kick the ACIO out of their facility yesterday.
I wondered why they didn't release a video this week. I bet that's why, because I follow them on YouTube, ACIO. I follow some of the reports that they put out, the analysis they put out or whatever, and I'm like, that's weird. Usually comes out on, I thought it was Monday. I don't know. Maybe they record some of the stuff in advance. So what does that mean?
Well, they have two facilities where, remember, they were the monitors. They worked directly for Marduk at some point in time. They are the force behind the NSA, this particular section of the ACIO that I'm referring to, the computer expert, the quantum computing experts. Okay. They were here to make sure the balance was maintained. They did have some quantum computing monitoring equipment we had talked about before. So now the actual people that knew how to run that stuff is kind of on the run. They're kind of on the run at the moment. So I don't know if they're going to be doing videos or if those people are even affiliated with the ACIO or they're affiliated with the 15 militaries in some way. Oh. Personally, I think it's the 15 militaries.
Oh, okay.
Not the actual ACIO. Okay. Which was technically a part of them at one point in time. They would get their orders and instructions through the ACIO, which would come from Marduk in some places. In the past, this is many, many years ago. So, but yes, and some members of CyberLife and the GHQ sat down and started, because remember, they all went blind.
Yeah.
It's been a week now. They've been blind. So I'm guessing they needed something so they could at least see in computers and possibly try to utilize that equipment to stop transfers, stop funding, stop, or steal money or do something, whatever their intentions were. But those facilities are no longer working.
Interesting. And you said there were two facilities.
There were two main facilities, yes, both in the U.S. We'll leave it at that. Okay. They took them both. There were other facilities in the world, but those were the two of the main facilities. And I think I want to say that happened probably 2 to 3 days ago now.
Do you think this has any real impact, though, for humanity? I mean, sometimes I listen to these reports from the ICIO, and I'm like, how are you helping us at all?
Well, they're not. That's the thing.
Yeah, but they act like they are. And I'm like, no, you're not helping humanity. I don't know what you're doing, but that's not helping.
Yeah. Do you know those guys at the pharmaceutical manufacturing companies? You know those people?
God.
Yes, you do. I know.
But do you think this has any real impact? Like, what does that mean for humanity? These groups are feuding, kicking people out. Does that really mean anything for us?
Well, it's just, a kind of an update.
Okay.
As to what's happening with some of the people that did not want to work on their program, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Didn't last very long. Now they're blind again. So, yeah, I wish them all the luck in the world with whatever it is they're trying to do.
And the whole white screen incident, that hasn't prompted anyone to actually reach out to you and be like, okay, we can't see anything now. Let's talk. You haven't had any wishful thinking.
But no.
Yeah. Okay.
No, there is some panic. There was a few phone calls to myself, a few phone calls to Thomas Melville, mainly just yelling and screaming.
Yeah, they're good at that.
Yeah, they just want to complain. I told Tom he needs a 900 number. Do they still do that?
So at least he can get paid when they scream at him?
Yeah.
Well, that's a thought.
Exactly.
They don't have any money.
So why moan and complain? Press 1.
Oh boy.
No. They have instructions and orders through 2030 of ridiculous events of which none have taken place. None have taken place.
Yeah.
The only thing that was probably on their list that took place was what happened in Turkey last year. But we explained that was also not a human dictated event in a remnant of the Armageddon program. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I'd rather not focus on it other than the fact of, oops, you've crossed the line. Oops, you've crossed the line. Bye-bye.
Here's your one-way ticket back to source.
Here you go.
Maybe we'll see you next time. Maybe in your next life you'll be a better being.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, I wouldn't even trust them if they did come forward, Sonny.
Yeah. We'll do it without them.
Yep. And we'll be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's the World Situation Report for Wednesday.
That's great. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Sonny.
Want to share news from UNN? Help us change the face of social media and use it for good. Connect with us through our online channels. Our social media team creates clips from each newscast you can easily share with the people you care about. That's also where you'll find our UNN meme of the day. It's a great way to encourage critical thinking. Links to all of our social media sites are available at the bottom of our website at unitednetwork.earth. Let's change the face of news together. And that wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record it and share it with us so we can help you share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.